Hello, everyone. I'm Jusera Cornigold, and on behalf of the International Spiritist Council and the United States Spiritist Federation, I welcome all of you who are listening to this special edition of the Spiritist Talk series that happens every Saturday at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. We are taking this opportunity to bring a special message originally recorded live by João Cornigold from New York, Glaucio Pessoa from Georgia, and Leonardo Vieira from Maryland, discussing guidelines to virtual mediumship activities. During this time of pandemic, lots of people from spiritist centers came to us concerned about having paused their mediumship meetings. Lots of questions have been raised about virtual mediumship meetings as well. It has been a challenge, but we know the work never stopped. The medium and other participants of the mediumistic group kept working during their physical sleep with the spirits that, in a serious and safe way, could use their goodwill to do the necessary work. Let's hear more about all these issues and the guidelines brought by the International Spiritist Council in this regard. The United States Spiritist Federation, as all the international community, can really benefit from this video. That is why we decided to share this with all of you. We wish you a very warm and nice continuation in celebrating Thanksgiving with your families and friends. Hope you join us again next Saturday at 11 a.m. Back to our live talks.
Welcome, dear friends from the United States of America. I am Leonardo Vieira, one of the workers of the Spirit Society of Baltimore, located in the state of Maryland here in the US. I have been studying Spiritism since 1997 and currently serve as one of the board members of the Society, and by conducting talks, group studies, and helping learning in the mediumistic meetings as well. We are thankful for your participation today, and we'd like to express our gratitude for this moment of studying and sharing orientation on the practice and study of mediumship. This is an event organized by the Area of Study and Practice of Mediumship of the International Spiritist Council, strengthening the unification of the Spiritist movement in favor of guidelines for mediumistic activities. The area of study and practice of mediumship of the International Spiritist Council is responsible for promoting the study, practice, and dissemination of the Spiritist doctrine. The commission is currently composed of 22 countries that, in an integrated, collaborative, and collective way, have been dedicated to carrying out important actions with a vision to continuous strengthening of this blessed and relevant task. So I would like to introduce our dear friend Glaucio, who will help us conduct this work as well. Glaucio Pessoa is from the Christian Spiritist community of Atlanta in the state of Georgia here in the US as well. Glaucio conducts Spiritist lectures. He's a musician, and with 30 years of experience with mediumship activities, he's currently serving as a mediumship meeting coordinator as well. So Glaucio, please go ahead.
Thank you, Leonardo. Greetings to all of you. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, regardless of where you are. We are so pleased to have you here with us. So it's very interesting, Leonardo, that you mentioned the area of study and practice of mediumship. And so that the objectives of the area of practice of mediumship and study be fulfilled, so it's necessary the continuous preparation for the mediumistic activities. So the Spiritist International Spiritist Council prepared a document that helped us eliminate several doubts about the study and practice of mediumship. And during these very special times in which we have all kinds of virtual meetings. And so it provides us clarification and preparations. This is the first live meeting we're going to have on this topic. So it is interesting that this strategic initiative is relevant for Spiritist federations, Spiritist centers, and study groups alike, whether they are in having face-to-face meetings or having virtual conversations. Uh, just in times of pandemics, but again, everything's a lesson for us. There are going to be other opportunities as well. So today we're going to discuss the guidelines to virtual mediumistic activities for mediumships in a pandemic, challenges and accomplishments. I would like at this time to invite our lecturer for today. He is João Korngold, will present the topic. There is going to be a presentation that João will provide to us for about 20 minutes. And after that, we're going to open it up for discussions. We encourage everyone to submit your questions, to submit your comments, so that we can make this experience as interactive and as rich for all of us. So, João, I'm going to talk a little bit about you. So, you are one of the founders and directors of the Spiritist Group of New York and Spiritist Alliance for Books, SAB, and that promotes and disseminates Spiritism in English. João has been one of the directors of mediumship meetings for the past 20 years. He's also responsible for study groups at SGNY, Spiritist Group of New York, that focus on the basic books of Spiritism and on the André Luiz collection. He gives talks in Spiritism in Portuguese and English. João Korngold is an engineer, and professionally he works as a banker. So, João, the floor is yours. Let's talk about the guidelines for virtual spirit mediumistic activities.
Okay. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, depending on where you are. Thank you for having us here, for opening space on your time to learn more about this very important subject, which is the guidelines for virtual mediumistic activities. It's important to stress that this document will be available on the International Spiritist Council website later this week. It is available there in Portuguese, but it will be available in English later this week, so you will have the ability to see it. And actually, our short presentation, the idea here is more to have a short presentation and then we have an open discussion, is based on this document that will be published by the International Spiritist Council. So to start, first let's remember the beginnings of Spiritism. Kardec published the Spirit's book on April 18th, 1857. Around 1 year later, he found it was necessary to have a place where like-minded people will meet to study, discuss, and learn more about Spiritism. That's when he founded, April 1st, 1858, the Parisian Study Society, or the Study Societies of Paris, something like that. It's the name in English. So, why he thought it was important? Because he thought it was important to have a place to meet and discuss and to help and assist. So that was the basis for the formation of all Spiritist centers. Of course, it evolved with time, but that's what we have. So what is a Spiritist center? Why do we go to a Spiritist center? A Spiritist center is a place where we go to learn or to be consoled, or both. These are the basic functions of a Spiritist center. And if we go back to Kardec, we know that he traveled worldwide at his time, publishing books, magazines, giving conferences, with the objective to reach the largest number of people and making Spiritism known. But this hasn't started with Kardec. If we go back in time, at the time of the early Christianity, we also have Paul of Tarsus starting to disseminate Christianity through letters. in a non-presential way. He would send letters, and the letters are famous, and they are a part of the gospel. So his epistles were addressed to distant Christian communities. The same other apostles made use of letters: Peter, James, John, Judas. So these letters would become the basis of the gospel, which was the new doctrine. So as we find nowadays ourselves immersed in this pandemic, and with the necessity of moving away from the Spiritist center and being more in connection with others virtually, which is a blessing. We have to understand this was a beautiful opportunity for people all over the world to get together, to study Spiritism, and to get to know others, right? We are here, me in New York, Leo in Baltimore, Glaucio in Atlanta. We were working together before this pandemic. This was a rare event. It was something that it practically didn't happen. So we have to see this as a positive development on the dissemination of Spiritism. So we can say that the virtual doctrinal activities are becoming more and more indispensable in a Spiritist center. And also, it gives an opportunity for people, let's say individuals who have to travel constantly for work, individuals that have to stay home taking care of children or taking care of elderly, people who have difficulty in locomotion and move themselves, who live in places without Spiritist centers. Actually, before this meeting, we were in a Q&A session at our group, and a lady that lives in Texas that has no Spiritist center around asked exactly this question without knowing that we're going to go into this live. How can I participate in a mediumship meeting if there is no Spiritist centers around me? So let's continue. So some activities that can be done virtually, and it helps to do virtually, is basic work studies, right? Lectures and studies can be done virtually, and we have been doing that since the beginning of the pandemic. We can do meetings of irradiation and prayer. That can be done virtually, right? As long as we are all connected and all involved with each other. Lectures, we can do youth meetings. They are much more used to virtual meetings and to the media resources than we, the older generation, are, right? So it's much easier for them. So when we talk about mediumistic meetings, mediumistic activities, how do we conduct them in a safe way? At a time when technological tools bring us closer and facilitate communication at a distance, let us reflect on that. First, let us remind everyone that during this period of interrupted in-person activities at the Spiritist Center in regards to mediumship, the spiritual help was never interrupted. The superior spirits are aware of this moment in humanity's trials, and they prepare themselves to help and assist both the incarnate and the disincarnate. We can see that in the book Nosso Lar, when André Luiz and the population of Nosso Lar receive in advance the preparations for the Second World War that was was going to happen. We can see that in the book Planetary Transition from Manuel Filomeno de Miranda, when we see the preparation on the spiritual world, building emergency colonies around the places where the tsunami was going to hit, to prepare for the assistance of the spirits that are going to disincarnate in the tsunami. So the spiritual world know what we need and are preparing ourselves. This doesn't take them by surprise. Now, when we talk about our homes, it's important to remember our homes do not offer the protective and homogeneous vibrational barriers found in Spiritist centers. And this can represent a state of vulnerability for the incarnate family members. Again, we live with our families. Not all of them may be Spiritists or may be interested and may bring different vibrations that can cause disruption in the vibrational levels of our homes. The mediumistic room in a Spiritist center, on the contrary, is prepared well in advance, and spiritual guards remain there, ready to interfere if any anomaly occurs. So, going back to Manuel Filomeno de Miranda, he says to us in the book Sex and Obsession through the psychography of Divaldo Pereira Franco, a mediumistic meeting of any nature is always a noble accomplishment in a workshop of conjugated action, in which its members harmonize and interconnect for the benefit of the results that are pursued, namely the facility for spiritual communications, the relief of the afflicted from both fate planes of life, the education of the disoriented, the special therapies that are applied. In those meetings of disobsession, in view of the greater seriousness of the commitment, it is transformed into a specialized mental health clinic in which delicate surgeries are performed on the perispirits of the incarnate as well as of those liberated from the physical body by means of a very careful process, which requires an efficient team as far as the group of cooperators from the physical world is concerned. So you can see by this description of Manuel Filomeno de Miranda how impossible would be for this organization and this environment to be created if we have individuals, each one in a different place in their own homes. So the influence of the environment is a relevant factor and is necessarily related to the quality of the mediumistic practice. Allan Kardec told us a meeting is a collective being whose qualities and properties are the result of those of its members, forming a kind of a bundle. Now, the more homogeneous this bundle, the more strength we will have. So the importance of a mediumistic meeting to be in person cannot be stressed enough. And again, for those that think that they cannot work their mediumship if they're not participating in the mediumistic meeting, I would like to remind everyone that there are many different ways to work our mediumship. Every time you go out and you are doing charity, you are using your mediumship. Every time you are listening to a loved one complain about their lives and you are patiently there listening and giving your ear to this person to vent their frustrations with life and their anger, you are using your mediumship to help. So a mediumistic meeting is one place to use your mediumship, but it is not the only place. Okay? So to finalize, before we open to our discussions and conversations, which I think it's important here so we can have everyone participated, Leo and Glaucio, I'm going to finish with chapter 29 of the Medium's book, item 329 by our codifier Allan Kardec. Study meetings are furthermore quite useful for intelligent manifestation mediums, especially for those who seriously want to perfect themselves. But to do so, they must not participate with the foolish presumption that they are infallible. As we have already stated, one of the biggest problems of practical mediumship is obsession and fascination. Thus, these mediums can be deluded in good faith as to the merit of communications they obtain. We have come to understand that deceptive spirits find an open door when they deal with individuals who are ignorant on this subject, which is why such spirits endeavor to keep their mediums away from all supervision, and when necessary, constrain them to have an aversion for whoever might be able to enlighten. Thanks to isolation and fascination, they can easily lead such mediums to accept everything they want them to. We will never tire of saying, there is not only a pitfall in this, but also a danger. Yes, a true danger. The only way to escape it is for these such mediums to submit to the supervision of disinterested and benevolent individuals who coolly and impartially judge the communications and who can thus open their eyes and lead them to see what they cannot see by themselves. By listening to the codifier, it is clear of the importance of the mediumistic meetings be done in one place with everyone present at the same time to be protected and to be safe from what the codifier says here, obsession, fascination, that isolation, and even if we are connected to each other virtually, and when we open ourselves to use our mediumship, we are going to risk ourselves, our families, and the work of the mediumship itself. Okay, that was my introduction here, and now I would like to bring back Leonardo and Glaucio so we can talk about it.
Leonardo, you have so much to say about. We were talking before about the preparation, right? And
yes.
Why don't you kick it off? Why don't you kick it off the conversation?
Sure. Well, João, thank you for your presentation there. You know, you brought a lot of amazing points on the matter here, and I think it's, as you mentioned, it's important for us to digest a little bit with one another and the public as well. As we said before, please make your comments, your questions. We'll try to get to them. But one of the aspects that you have mentioned, João, is this exactly point that we were talking earlier about our homes not being prepared, right? And there are several elements here that we go, and I would like to just to kind of throw some ideas out there, and we can digest a little bit more if you guys can actually bring more details on it. But one is the idea that what is this preparation? What is the environment that we are right now in our homes to creating these meetings, or even if we haven't done yet, entertaining on the idea of having a virtual meeting, right? So the four of our homes, right? Yes, I mean they're blessed homes because we hopefully have the idea of having a God at home where we prepare ourselves, we pray daily. But we have to understand that we're not by ourselves. We have our family members that perhaps they don't have the age, or they haven't the training to perhaps partake in a mediumistic meeting. That's aspect number one. The aspect number two that I would like to bring in terms of the environment, and that is the physical and the spiritual as well, as you have said. I would like to bring the knowledge of a hospital, right? When we go to a hospital, we go through a triage type of process in order for us to be seen by the doctor, right? We have someone that will take our information, our names and all that information, and then we get to see someone, the nurse that will come, will take our temperature, and then kind of have an idea what's going on with us, and then we get to see the doctor, right? So there is a preparation, there is a work that is done for us to be seen. The doctor, if we go to an ER bleeding, and I don't want to bring any negative image to anyone, will not operate you right there at the ER. You will be taken to a location where you will be assisted and will be operated on to stop the bleeding, to do whatever. the first connection here is that the Spiritist Center is just like an ER, right? That, we're helping other individuals who come to us with, asking for some aid, from some help. And there are certain steps that we have to take. Number one, the preparation. Number two, that it cannot be done just in any place. Taking it back to our homes, we don't have that capability because we don't have the materials, we don't have the proper training, and the environment that is around us, right, is not the same conducive for a mediumistic meeting as it is in the Spiritist Center. And I dare to say as well that the difficulties that we have, because we're not perfect, and this was actually addressed earlier today, I believe, in the Hispanic meeting that we had, that there are sometimes we have some things that we have to, let's say, calibrate with one another. Those workers between, that we encounter at the Spiritist Center. The moment that we go to the Spiritist Center and we sit down, we prepare, we kind of read a passage of a book, the Gospel According to Spiritism, for example. If we have any issue that we have to take care of, at that moment, that is, let's say, minimized, right? So the harmony between the workers is there as well. Much like when you have a harmony between the nurses, the doctors, the people that clean the hospitals, and all the environment as well. So I'm just throwing some ideas, because sometimes we get caught up why my home is not the best, or is not just like the Spiritist Center. Well, there you go. There are a lot of information that we can take with us, and with this analogy, I hope that we can at least have an idea how important it is to do these meetings, to conduct these meetings through the Spiritist Center.
Yeah, I like the analogy of the hospital because, as you mentioned, Leonardo, patients are brought to the hospital, and what they find there is a septic. They find a clean environment for them, and that is the first step. And I think the analogy of the triage is right on. In the book, In the Realms of Mediumship, some translations call it The Realm of Mediumship. Other translations call it In the Domains of Mediumship, Life in the Spirit World. So Andrea Lewis, he reports to us that in a Spiritist center, before any kind of mediumistic meeting, the spirits who are to be helped, they are brought in. And it's kind of like similar to your analogy of a triage. So we have several spirits that are brought in, and they are brought in before the lecture even begins, because the lecture itself is part of the assistance that they're going to receive. And then there's this prepared environment that both you and João alluded to. Now think of our homes. Our homes is not this clean environment in which, let's say, that could the spiritual world be able to bring this multitude of spirits to our home. So first of all, it's not the cleanest environments to help those. And the same way in a hospital, and you alluded quite well, there's like different rooms, right? Depending on what you have. If you have a broken leg, you're not going to be taken to the same place in the ER, or someone who has some kind of contagious disease. So the same way in our room works both ways. Either our rooms are not have the cleanest of the environments to assist these spiritual friends. The same way also there is a possibility of contamination of our homes to the poor vibrations, to the poor fluids, to the negative energy that those spirits can bring. So it works just like, that's why I like the analogy that you brought up about the hospitals, right on. The same way you might get, if the hospitals do not take proper caution, you might get infected. As you go to a hospital, nurses and doctors included, they're at risk. The same way there's a risk of also that patients might contaminate patients, and health workers might contaminate others as well. And another aspect that João brought, which was right on as well, is the whole point of all of our family members being prepared. A lot of, it's not uncommon for us to have family members that share other beliefs than us. So also it is a disservice, and it'll be actually a lack of charity to expose these other both ways, works both ways, right? To expose those family members to these kinds of energies, and at the same time also expose our friends, spiritual friends already suffering, to some of these possibly disturbing energies that they may find in our homes.
João, I don't know if you have any comments
Yeah.
or connections.
No, I think you guys covered, together we covered the importance of not having in our home, and I think you hit in the nail when you brought the example of the hospital. I think that was a great example. So I would like you guys to expand now on mediumship as charity. I think that's something that I mentioned a little bit on the other ways of using our mediumship, and what your thoughts there?
It is quite interesting because in the book This Obsession by Andrea Lewis, he he explains, right, to the mediumship workers that the preparation for them starts early. It's very interesting because it starts in the beginning of the day, right, or sometimes even the day before. Is this whole preparation that you have to do? So we see here that mediumship we have, and you brought up this aspect quite well in your presentation, João. Mediumship, we're being mediums not only when we are when we are channeling spirits, when we are talking to spirits. We're being mediums at all times. We're all mediums. We're all exchanging energy. We're all ascending our positive vibrations to our brothers and sisters, both incarnate and disincarnate. So the whole concept of being a medium and have to be having a mediumistic session and have to have the spirits and talk to the spirits and bring messages to family members. I mean, it is a type of charity. However, the biggest charity that we can provide to both incarnate and disincarnate spirits is this positive energy that we bring. Talking about the loved ones who have disincarnated, think the biggest service we do to them is to send them positive energy, is the vibration of our love, the vibration of comfort. I mean, that's one example of how mediumness activities, we can be mediums, we can do very important mediumistic work outside of what we call this formal mediumistic session.
Very well, Glacio. One of the questions, and forgive me for not having the exactly question number here that I can refer back to on the Spirit's book, is the influence of the spirits in our lives, right? And the Spirit tells us that we're more influenced than we can imagine. Just paraphrasing here, but this idea of charity with mediumship, it is true. It is a number. I believe it is one of the ways that we can be charitable, to serve one another, to serve as a group member, right? I think that's very important in our lives, and it does count for all of us. But we also, there is one on the flip side of that, there is also the benefit that we are receiving, right, on how much we are being benefited in that act. But that doesn't mean that it's the only way or options that we have in terms of in terms of being charitable. Because sometimes we have this idea, oh my God, if I don't have if I'm not participating in a mediumistic meeting, I'm a medium. I'm not being charitable. But there are other ways, based on the idea of the question and answer that I brought, that we're always being influenced, or we're always connected with the spiritual world. When an act of just saying hello to someone, smile to someone, listen to someone, as Joan was saying, complain about life, and sometimes that is the moment that the person needs, to say, look, I'm going through some trouble. That allows us to be charitable as well. And because we are connected with others, guess what? By that action of that charitable action, we're helping others as well, because now they see that, what, Leo was able to listen to this individual, I can do the same. Or I'm not going to be influenced in him in a negative way, because he's really trying to be charitable. So there is a disconnection. There is a work that is being done just that by that small act that we are doing. And this goes a long ways, guys. I mean, and it can be done at work. It can be done at home. It can be done at school, wherever we may be. Every good deed, every good action, it's charity in action, right? It's love in action. And can be served as charity as well, hopefully. once we go back to our Spiritist center, if your Spiritist center is still closed or whatnot, that you conduct your studies, first of all, to be helpful as a medium, or any other, let's say, service that you can participate in the mediumistic meeting. Then you'll be able to go and act in this charitable way as well. But remember, we are being benefited as well, so it's good to kind of remind everyone on that other aspect as well.
Thanks, Leo.
It's an interesting point that we were talking before, is that we have opportunities to be mediums, right, without the mediumistic session. But for those who attempt to do mediumship alone, there are so many risks, right? And inferior spirits may try to influence us. It's kind of like when we're together, we're like this bundle, right? But if we're separate and trying to work separately in our homes doing teleconference or any kind of remote access, then we are like alone. We're like left alone. We're easy pickings, unfortunately, by the inferior spirits. So that's an interesting point that you alluded to, João, in your lecture.
Yeah. I think we have a question there.
Oh, you have a question?
Yes. Marcial, if we want to put a question.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah, so from Luis Leon, playing devil's advocate, one can argue that the possibility of virtual mediumistic meetings is very new. Have we received instructions from benefactor spirits regarding virtual mediumistic meetings? As far as I know, I haven't seen anything. So everything that we are discussing here is using the knowledge we bring from the Spiritist teachings and reason, right? The answers from the spirits and reason, and the instructions from Kardec. So
I think that alone, João, sorry to interrupt, that alone is a message from the benefactor. Maybe they were foreseeing that this was going to happen, right? As you brought earlier, they're from the spirit guide. So
yeah, actually, the issues and concerns that João brought up, they're not new concerns.
Yeah,
I mean, nothing is new. It doesn't matter if you're like in the road, if you're like in a Roman road, if you're sending letters to people, or if you're trying to do telepresence for mediumship. The issues are the same. The challenges are the same or very similar.
Yes.
Yeah, we can think of Paul of Tarsus and people complaining, why doesn't he come here instead of sending letters, right?
One thing, folks, that I was thinking as well, as we were saying, and a little bit connected with our first comments here, and what you say, João, about the environment. I think it's important for us to also talk about the environment in terms of the hearts and minds that are actually around us at home, right? And how we are affected and how we affect others, depending if we are a medium or not. But most importantly, when we participate in a Spiritist mediumistic meeting. The point that I would like to make is that the how we influence one another. I'm not a medium, for example, and I do not, I'm not ostensive media. I do not, give passages to spirits or whatnot. But I feel that there is a great influence, over me on the day prior. Some days, sometimes, a couple of days prior. But most importantly, on the day of the meeting, right? And I have actually had heard from family members saying that, Leo, you change a little bit, on the day or the day of, especially when I come back from the Spiritist Center. And this is not a bad thing, folks, because we're here to help. Remember, the idea of the main goal of the mediumistic meeting is to help our brothers and sisters, right? Incarnated and discarnated ones. So we change. Also, there is a change that happens in the physical, in the spiritual environment, the spiritual mind of those who live with us. We may not be a medium, but those who live with us, even though they don't participate directly, they do not work with spiritism directly, they also get to be influenced, right? They change their behaviors. Things are a little bit heavier sometimes because of the influence of the individuals who are connecting with us, and they're brought to connect with us so that we can take them to Spiritist Center. One thing that I like to, and it's a little bit funny, I dream a lot, and I have had several dreams where the day prior that I'm, somebody's bringing someone to me, one of the mentors bringing someone to me, and I'm out to take that individual to the Spiritist center, right? So my point is here. I mean, I would like to hear from you as well. Do you feel anything? Do you feel in any changes? When you are participating in this meeting, have you heard from someone? And that will illustrate how important it is as well for us to do these meetings at the Spiritist center instead of doing at home. Because if we're connecting with these suffering minds, what kind of environment are we creating in our homes, right? It can be very detrimental to each one of us and to our homes as well.
Right. It's funny that you mentioned that, because my experience was we had, when I was living in Miami, I was the coordinator, and it was every Thursdays. That's when we had the meetings, and I did not need to have a reminder for the mediumistic meeting, because my coworkers would remind me, because usually the toughest days of work were Thursdays. It was so interesting, because I would start in the morning, and I'll be bombarded from all my coworkers at like a 9, and then I'll remember today is a Thursday, is the day of mediumistic meeting, because so this is an example of an external environment to my home, right? So in that case, it'll be relatively safe for me to be under constant attack, and then be at the mediumistic meeting, and whatever spirits would be close to me be helped. Now, if I'm at my home, then I am exposed. Now, it's not my coworkers, it's my family members. And guess what? My family members don't have the same level of understanding, the same level of protection, of participation of a meeting. So they would be influenced, and that influence might last for longer than just the day of the mediumistic meeting.
Yeah. I'm going to comment quickly, because we have a couple of questions more there. So, we have a couple of mediums in our mediumship meeting that always tells us that they start feeling from the day before the connections, the approximation of spirits, and in the end, they are the ambulance that drives those spirits to the Spiritist center. So if you are having those meetings from your home, you're using the example of the hospital, you are driving the ambulance to your own home instead of driving it to the hospital. That can't be good. So, but we have a couple of questions more. So, Marcel, you want to put the next one? From our friend Daniel Santos. What to say from those that would justify the virtual mediumistic meeting should be okay because the mechanism is done mind to mind? I think we already commented here, and we've been talking about this of the rest of the environment at our home, right? Here we're not trying to question the ability of the worker of the mediumistic meeting to do a proper preparation, even if they are at home. But the surroundings are going to affect. We are not immune to our surroundings. There's no way we can be completely immune. So let's say I live here, I live on an apartment here. So someone can knock at my door, can call the phone, my dog start barking. All these, even if you are fully prepared, it's going to distract you. And each distraction will be a breaking point in the connection that is needed in a work of a mediumistic meeting. This is different from studies, because if you're studying and someone is giving you an explanation and you get distracted, you miss the explanation, you can go back and watch it later. If it's recorded, you can ask again. But this doesn't happen in a mediumship meeting. If you get disconnected, you affect the whole environment. And you get disconnected even when you are in the Spiritist center. How many times we see Andrea Luiz describing the workers at the mediumistic meeting getting distracted with their own thoughts, and we do. It's hard to concentrate for 1 full hour. So when you are not connected directly to others, the mind to mind that Daniel Santos asks is even more. It's even easier for you to get disconnected and for you to lose this connection. So it will be much more harmful, right?
Yes. One thing that I would like to, and I think it also will introduce us to the next question here. We don't have to put the next question yet because we can go and separate and answer it. But the idea also here, João, is the physical body, how the physical body plays in the actual mediumistic meeting along with the spirits who are suffering. Many of these spirits, they do not know their condition. They do not know where they are. Some of them are very intelligent. Some of them are able to understand their reality instead of in terms of not having the physical body. But for them to understand where they are, for them to be able to grasp their reality, what is needed is a physical body, in this case, the physical body of the medium, right? To give them this anemic shock. And I'm saying anemic here in terms of the physical body, the reality of the physical body, for them to say, okay, now, I'm able to converse with this other spirit, will converse with this other mind, and receive as well, through this channeling, through this shock, this anemic shock, the proper treatment that I need to go on and change my vibration, right? So it's important when we talk about mind to mind. Yeah, we'll be connected mind to mind, but what is what is the extension of this mind to mind in terms of the reality of helping a discarnated spirit? So I think it's important also to bring to light this idea that physically we ought to be there. And it's funny because earlier today, I forgive me, I can't remember which one was. I think it was the Portuguese session that we had, that the speaker was actually saying that sometimes we also we also create all kinds of excuses. Oh my God, today I can't go, car is not working, this is happening, so on and so forth. Well, we need to do some an extra effort to truly be part of the team if we have committed to that work, because we never know when we'll be able to help in that sense as well, not only mind to mind, but also physically at the Spiritist Center, and how we will accommodate ourselves and help others to accommodate themselves in terms of calibrating our intentions or ideas there. So the mind to mind it can be there, but as you said, João, is not just the mind to mind that we think that, okay, I'm connected with you mind to mind, I'm praying for you. It goes beyond that as well. So thank you.
Yeah, it's interesting that, and Danielle, I'm going to connect, but Danielle has a question here. He mentioned about the internet connection, right? So one issue is technical issues. I've been rarely to a live, our live here has been without any hitches, but it's very common for any kind of teleconference or live to run into hitches. And there are technical communications, like Danielle mentioned here, the internet connection being interrupted. It can happen for whatever reason, right? There could be a lightning strike, can be a power surge, can be anything can happen. And so having that during a study group, like João mentioned, you can live with that. You can overcome it. If, for instance, if we're here communicating for whatever reason, I get disconnected, I can log back in and be able to, repeat what I had just mentioned. You may not be able to expect a spirit to go ahead and repeat what he or she just said on a mediumistic meeting. So there's the technical issues as well, and there's some platforms that do not allow people to speak at the same time, and that creates a problem as well, because in the mediumistic meeting, sometimes the medium, the indoctrinating medium may try to be communicating, the spirit is talking back. So there are all these other technical issues that, again, the mind to mind is very important. But again, there is all the technical limitations that may hinder efforts impossible, not more impossible, but a lot more difficult.
And actually, I would like to add something that I haven't thought here, but it was brought to me by Luis before the meeting. Can you imagine the dangers of the mediumship meetings being recorded and posted on the internet?
Yes, or hacking, right? Being hacked.
Yes,
or
open a can of worms there that is very dangerous, right?
Right.
Because once you go out in the internet, you get to people that have evil intentions or are not prepared to deal with it, and that can create a lot of distress for the group that is doing it, that is posting it. So I didn't think of that before, but it's also very important.
Nothing's more personal. Those mediumistic meetings are extremely personal, because they not only refer to problems you have in this life, but problems you had in a previous life, problems that you don't even know you have. So it is as personal or beyond as personal as we can imagine. So yeah, that is a risk, definitely.
Guys, we're have a couple more minutes only, 12 more minutes or so. It's always good to stay on time with everything, right? And I know we have a couple more questions there, but after we answer the question, one of the things that I would suggest as well, is for us to go back and reanalyze here analyze the idea of mediumship with Jesus, right? And that goes, I would like to open the floor here in order for us to really touch on this idea, because by far Spiritism brings to us this connection with our Master, to truly be charitable, to be kind to one another, and we have, in fact, through mediumship, this capability to be helpful, right, in an amazing way. But I would like to extend on this idea on what is mediumship with Jesus. What is what kind of comments you have and ideas you have.
I'm glad you brought this up, because this is something that Elmo, one of the other directors of SGNY, always brings, that Spiritism teaches us to practice mediumship with Jesus. And why is this different from others? Because mediumship is not something that Spiritism invented or brought or have any exclusivities. Mediumship is out there. So in Spiritism, we talk about mediumship with Jesus because we practice mediumship with the sole intent of upgrading ourselves and helping others. And that's following the teachings of Jesus, right? So we don't practice mediumship for funny business, for curiosity. True Spiritists practice mediumship to help themselves and help others, to grow spiritually. And that's mediumship with Jesus.
Yeah, and the opportunities that we have, a lot of times we think that we are helping, we think we're helpers, but we are the simplest of the workers. And a lot of times we are so benefited from the lessons that we learn from those spirits that we are helping, that we are assisting, but there is so much in their experiences that can help us, enrich us, and in a sense make us realize things, the importance of things, and how to live better, and to be alluding mediumship to Jesus, to become better Christians as well. There's a question here from Luis Villau, a very interesting one about ectoplasm.
Mm-hmm.
May one argue that ectoplasm is essential in a mediumistic meeting, even one of intelligence effects, and that it would not be available in a virtual environment? Could you comment on that? That's a very interesting question.
Wow, the ectoplasm that he's referring here, obviously, it would be what we have said in terms of the environment, right, and what we create, and how we manipulate the universal cosmic fluid around us, and that goes in anything that we do in our lives, on how we think, how we feel, how we express ourselves. That obviously, as much as we try, as much as we connect with one another online, we wouldn't be able to create and connect this ectoplasm, my creations with your creations. But most importantly as well, as João mentioned this earlier today, that the preparation of the Spiritist Center happens, way before we start that meeting, right? The spirits are being connected with us, or prepared to be brought to the Spiritist Center hours, if not days, before we go to the Spiritist Center, or we hold the meeting. So the connection all throughout of these creations that we emanate, that we do, should be, it's so homogeneous, and that may not happen, and it will not happen if we're doing these holding these virtual meetings, right? Instead of actually going to the Spiritist Center. So I hope that helps. I don't know if you have any more comments on it.
I think I'll address this together with the next question that he posted, right? What could be a strong definitive justification not to do virtual mediumistic meetings? May I suggest the safety of the medium? Exactly. That's, you're right on the point. The safety of the medium is the most important thing here that we should be concerned with. And there is no guarantee that the medium will be safe when they are working from home by themselves. The spirits cannot provide, the spiritual assistance cannot be provided for someone that is isolated in their home in a virtual environment. It is a very important point, Luis, that you brought. And I think it's, in the end, if we can take one thing from all of this, is the safety of the medium is what matters most, and we cannot guarantee the safety of the medium at home. Okay, and I just want to point here, we are not talking about a mediumship practice at home by someone like Divaldo Franco that is receiving a psychography. This is different. We're talking meetings here of providing assistance to suffering spirits, right?
Very well.
Yeah.
The one thing that I would like to connect to this, what he just said with the previous point that we brought in terms of connecting with Jesus, the work with Jesus in the mediumistic meeting, is also Jesus taught us to do this collective work. He didn't work by himself, even though he was a perfect spirit that came, and he's still here, helping us. But he taught us to work as a team. He didn't work by himself. He chose, individuals who were not very intelligent, individuals, but had a good intention in their hearts and their minds to help others, right? They had their difficulties, but he gave the opportunity for others to work. He allowed them to express themselves, to express the love that they had within themselves. And that, is how we also come protected, because we're working together for the medium, for those who are, conversing with the spirit, for those who are applying the passes, those just are in the mediumistic meeting, providing help with the environment, praying, sending good vibrations, all those different individuals. It's a collective work, and by far, that for sure is an example that Jesus brought to us in terms of all kinds of work, right? We're always being reminded that Jesus didn't work by himself.
Yeah, interesting. Even in the Transfiguration, right? In the passage of Transfiguration, he had the three most trusted spirits accompany him almost to the location, right? So that's a very interesting. Even that example applies. I mean, speaking of ectoplasm, it's also important to remind that a spiritist team, a mediumistic team, is not just made of the ostensive mediums or the channeling mediums, but there's the support mediums, there's the indoctrinating mediums. So, and those are as important, or sometimes even more important than the medium who's channeling. Sometimes we do not we don't have high regards for the support mediums, the ones who are just like silently praying. But those mediums, they're providing the energy, and they're an important part of this whole mechanism to keep everyone protected and set up the environment. So it is the point is right on. It's teamwork. Like they say, teamwork makes the dream work, and that applies to mediumship as well.
Good.
Yeah. Well, I think we came to the end, right? 3 minutes left. So on my part, I want to thank you all that watched. Thank you, Leo and Glaucio, for being part of this very nice discussion. And I'll pass to you guys.
Well, thank you, João. Thank you, Glaucio, as well. Thank you, for a huge thanks for the International Spiritist Council as well, for giving us this opportunity to work together, to enlighten our lives together, and to bring again some light in this idea. One thing that we know for sure, right? We have the foundation of Spiritism, to guide us in this matter. The Medium's book is, it has a lot of information on the matter. The André Luiz collection, Manuel Filomeno de Miranda, teaches us so much as well in the matter as well, that we have to work together, that we have to be physically in the Spiritist Center for these meetings. There are many ways that we can be charitable, but at the end, we need to be safe. We have to keep the safety as well of our friends, of our family members, and both spiritually and physically as well. So thank you, everyone, and I'll pass the word to Glaucio. Thank you.
That is awesome. And again, I'd like to thank João and Leo for providing their comments. I did learn a lot from both of you. I am appreciative of that. I am thankful to the Spiritist International Council for providing us the opportunity for a conversation. And I'd like to thank all of you who participated with us, took 1 hour with us and provided your feedback, your comments. Everybody, this is a dialogue. So this was a very enriching opportunity for all of us.